2022 and the 21st century in general is probably the best and the worst time to be alive. Technological progress, healthcare improvements, space exploration, and a gaping inequality. Richest people in the world have so much wealth that an average person can't earn in 100 lifespans. Billions and billions of dollars are in a small number of pockets while the rest of the world is forced to survive. Global inequalities are in bad shape and mostly do not appear to be getting better. It might sound strange, but almost 90% of the world's wealth is concentrated on less than 10% of the land. And you will be shocked to find out where all those billions are and where their owners live. Let's take a closer look at the frightening inequality of the 21st century and why do money stay where they are. First, we need to address the gaping inequality in the world. Currently, the richest 1% of the global population currently takes 46% of global income, and 12% of the population make 85% of the world's entire wealth. The poorest half of the global population barely owns any wealth at all, possessing just 1% of the total. If we were to analyze inequality by region, the chart would look like this. Inequality varies significantly between Middle East and North Africa regions, or so-called MENA, and the most equal Europe. In Europe, the top 10% income share is around 36%, whereas in MENA, it reaches 58%. In between these two levels, we see a diversity of patterns. In East Asia, the top 10% makes 43% of total income, and in Latin America, 55%. Income and wealth inequalities have been on the rise nearly everywhere since the 1980s. The rise has not been uniform. Certain countries have experienced spectacular increases in inequality, while others have experienced relatively smaller rises. Another visually representative way to look at financial inequality is the so-called Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient ranges from 0% to 100%, with 0 representing perfect equality and 1 representing perfect inequality. A higher Gini coefficient means greater inequality. If every individual has exactly the same wealth, any given fraction of the population has precisely that fraction of the total wealth, the Gini coefficient would be 0 and the graph will look like a green straight line. If one resident earned all of the income in a nation and the rest earned 0, the Gini coefficient would be 1 and the graph will look like the orange line. In unequal countries like the US, the graph looks more similar to the orange one. Now look at this map of Gini coefficients around the world. By overlaying it with a map of mean wealth per adult, we can get an additional perspective. We can see that among high-income countries, some are very unequal, like the US, while others are relatively equal, like Sweden. The same is true among low and middle income countries, with some countries like Brazil and India exhibiting extreme inequality. China showing somewhat high levels and Malaysia displaying moderate levels of inequality. What does all of that tell us? Basically, the wealth distribution is not as it should be, causing millions of people to balance between poverty and being able to pay rent. So what about that 1% of rich people? Where do all those billionaires and millionaires live? To understand the layout, we again must look at the map of mean wealth per adult. We can see that the greenest and wealthiest areas of the US, Canada, Australia, and Europe account for more than 10% of the land. Those rich countries for sure take up more space, so where's all that money? In the lands of billionaires, of course. Look at this image. It shows how many billionaires there are in each country. Currently, there are over 3,300 billionaires in the world, and almost a third of them are US citizens. We can see that 138 billionaires live in New York, 85 in San Francisco, and 59 in Los Angeles. Even the US closest rival, China, has 2 times less billionaires. Germany has 146, India 124, UK 120, Hong Kong 114, Switzerland 111. The list goes on, but a certain pattern emerges. Let's pull all the wealthiest cities on the map of the world. Here is the map we'll get. These 15 cities and the areas around them in total take up to 10% of the land and are home to almost 90% of all the wealth. That's where the money is. But why? Let's look at some of them a little closer. New York, the city of lights, trash on the streets, homeless everywhere, and billionaires. New York for decades has been the financial center of this world, a massive mix of rich, very rich, and extremely rich people. Finance, healthcare and life sciences, high technology and biotechnology, real estate, and insurance all form the basis of New York City's economy. New York is home to two world's largest stock exchanges, Nasdaq and NYSE. The city is also the nation's most important center for mass media, journalism, and publishing. London is the second wealthiest city in the world at $2.7 trillion. It's home to the sixth largest stock exchange in the world and one of the highest concentrations of high net worth individuals. In 2017, the city experienced its first major billionaires outflow in recent memory. London is seen as the gateway to the rest of Europe. North American and Asian companies usually come to London to establish their base in order to expand into the rest of Europe. London still has strong political power, despite the fact that the British Empire has long gone. Its influence is still seen throughout the rest of the world. Tokyo proudly sits in third place with $2.5 trillion worth of wealth. Tokyo is home to the third largest stock exchange in the world and is home to one of the largest concentrations of millionaires globally. But Japan is not home to billionaires, it's their residence. Japan has a lot of rich people, but very few in the billionaire range. San Francisco is the fourth richest city and the second in terms of a number of billionaires. In recent years, San Francisco has risen steadily in the rankings as its booming tech industry has led to enormous wealth gains. Filled to the brim with tech startups, emerging companies, San Francisco just screams money. The city can offer a lot: good weather, great views, and favorable ground for doing business. Beijing is the fifth richest city. It's the official capital city of China and is home to the head offices of most of China's largest companies. TikTok, Alibaba, and hundreds of other companies are in Beijing, and their owners live there. Beijing is a wonderful city with a rich history, great grounds for opening businesses, and perspective for future growth. But why do billionaires stay in such agglomerations? Well, you might have guessed the main reasons from the description of cities, but I'll repeat. 1. More opportunities to make money. Second, more opportunities to spend money. Big cities like New York, London, and Tokyo are homes for the biggest stock exchange markets, giving traders and smart people many opportunities to multiply their wealth. Plus, big cities offer more of what these people need. For example, a lot of New York City residents treat their home as a place to sleep and store their clothes. They live, work, eat, and socialize outside. NYC has far more places for that than a Midwestern town. Silicon Valley has 1,000 places to work. If you are in one of the Silicon professions, that means more employment opportunities than a Midwestern town, and lots of security. If one job ends, a Silicon Valley resident can get the next job quickly. In such places, the flows of money are very high, and talented and well-educated people who know where to look can get immensely rich. Plus, in such places where the concentration of rich people is high, it's much easier to share and steal ideas, build partnerships, and engage in new ventures. A billionaire in a small rural town will likely have no apparent connection to other people, and his ideas and desire to earn more will soon die out. This principle works not only with millionaires and billionaires. For example, scientists are also concentrated in specific locations because they have access to necessary equipment, research materials, and can work with other researchers more easily. Additionally, when it comes to rich people in one space, financial interests play a vital role. Certain areas offer tax cuts and other forms of aid for all the companies registered there. So billionaires have to register companies and stay in those cities. And about money spending options, big rich cities are a real magnet for people who want to spend their fortunes. Such cities offer a myriad of ways to spend $1 million, from buying a helicopter to eating a $5,000 steak. That's basically all there is to it. Now, when you know the drill, what do you think? Why is all the money in the hands of the few? Will this inequality ever end? Write your answers in the comments down below. Share this video with friends, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel to always be posted on the world's economy. Thank you very much for watching, and see you guys in the next one.